everybody. Hope you're all doing well, and thanks for joining us for another live stream. I'm hoping the sound is coming through okay. I do have a bit of a habit of ballsing things up. So I'll just wait for the okays from everyone in chat, and then we'll crack on. You're meant to be in frame, dog. Excellent. Hope everyone is doing well. I don't think this is going to be too long of a stream tonight. I just wanted to go over some bits regarding Blue Origin. So as you probably all know, I recently put a video out regarding the Blue Origin launch, the recent New Shepard flight, which has somewhat made the headlines for the fact that, basically there was celebrities on there, and conspiracy theorists thought they'd found something wrong with it. Now, conspiracy theorists find stuff wrong all the time with things, but throw a celebrity into the mix and hey-ho, suddenly the media picks it up and it all blows up. So I did a video tackling the main points that I'd seen regarding why people were saying that New Shepard flight was faked. And basically it was the fact that they'd open the hatch from the inside, and yet Jeff Bezos needed a handle to open it from the outside. Confused them. No different than I can open my front door from the inside quite perfectly fine, but I need a special tool known as a key to get in from the outside. Some people thinking that the hatch appeared too flimsy because it bounced a little bit, not really understanding the types of pressures that it would actually have to be contending with. And then people thinking that it looked too clean when it landed. Why wasn't it all charred and burnt up? So I put the video out addressing those points. There's been a lot of comments, so I just wanted to basically use this live stream to go through the points that a lot of people seem to be bringing up. I may well do a video about this anyway, but I just thought I'm in the middle of doing another video at the moment. I didn't want to put the brakes on that necessarily, so I thought I'd just go through all the points today on a stream. And also, you know, if anyone else has got any points that they think they might have heard that I don't cover, we could go over them as well. So, with regards to there's numerous points. The biggest one that people seem to have issues with is the use of the terms astronaut and crew. This has been a massive, stir of the pot of everybody arguing, should they be called astronauts, should they not, and why is everyone referring to them as crew? Now, in my video, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure I didn't refer to them as astronauts. Mainly because I'd already seen a load of points, a load of people arguing back and forth about it, and I didn't want to be sort of making that the point of the video, and yet seemingly everyone's been jumping on that anyway. I think because part of one of the clips I included had Blue Origin's host refer to him as astronauts, or they've just made it up, but for the fact that everyone's talking about it. I personally won't be calling them astronauts. Because, yeah, I agree. There's loads of people saying the passengers, and I get that, and you know, I think just making it just beyond the Kármán line apparently doesn't qualify as astronauts. Now, because I've been doing some research into back on the moon landings and stuff for this thing that's going to be happening between me and Jaren, which I'll talk about a bit later on. But before the Mercury and the Gemini missions, they were flying the X-15s, which were rocket-powered planes that did go past the Kármán line and thus actually qualified the pilots for astronaut wings. So, but I think, and then obviously Mercury flights, the first two was suborbital. The apparently I was hearing the other night. I was watching NSF's NASA spaceflight stream. Yuri Gagarin apparently only just made one orbit. In fact, it was pretty much a suborbital for the amount of time that he actually spent above the Kármán line, and yet was still constituted a cosmonaut. So there's arguments for and against. Personally, I think, yeah, I'm not going to refer to them as astronauts. However, I did refer to them as crew multiple times. And again, everyone was kicking off about that. Now, for me, I think just I refer to them as crew a lot out of force of habit. I have done so many videos about Apollo, about the space shuttle, about the space stations. I talk so much about those. That was the first time I'd ever talked about Blue Origin. So I just instinctively, naturally refer to people on a spacecraft as crew, because every other space flight thus far has been constituted as crew. So it is a force of habit. But it's Blue Origin themselves do actually refer to them as crew as well. So if you look at where are we here? So this is Blue Origin's own site for talking about the NS-31 mission. They refer to him as an astronaut crew. And they're including today's crew. So yes, Blue Origin refer to them as astronaut crew. So I just sort of, was carrying that on in terms of, I just call them a crew because, one, it was out of habit. Two, Blue Origin are referred to them as crew. They probably wouldn't qualify as a crew for a SpaceX flight, maybe. I don't know, but Blue Origin did. So, yeah, I think there's an awful lot of kick up, though, about that. And that's why I did say in the video, with regards to whether they're astronauts or not, it's semantics. It doesn't really affect things. I wanted to focus more on the actual conspiracy side of things. While I'm here, just this is my new coffee mug, which you may recognize that picture. That is the that is Halfway Point, the picture that I've got behind me. Where's my full screen? There we are. That picture there on a mug, that is available in the Teespring store down below. I know people were asking about, can they get a copy of that picture? Yes, you can. The main conspiracies, the actual bits that people are calling a conspiracy rather than arguing the toss about semantics, are, one, the inward opening hatch. Because I'd pointed out in the video, the hatch opens inwards, and part of that is the design of the fact that when you're then up in space or at higher altitude, you've got positive pressure inside pushing the hatch shut, or more pushing the seals of the hatch, making sure it's got a tight seal so that air doesn't leak out. And a lot of people were bringing up saying that they seemed surprised that there was an inward opening hatch after Apollo 1, and the fact that Apollo changed it to an outward opening door, and suddenly now an inward opening door seems strange to people. Well, I've done a video about the change of Apollo from after Apollo 1, and the hatch was one of the changes, but it wasn't just a case of changing it so the hatch now opens outwards. The original Apollo 1 hatch was, I think, two separate hatches. They had an internal and an external one. The internal hatch had to be removed by the crew inside, and the external one could then be swung open either by the crew inside or by the ground crew, which made the whole process of getting astronauts out in an emergency a whole lot harder. So a big change with the hatch wasn't just making it so that it opens outwards. It was completely redesigning the locking mechanism so that they could open the hatch, unlock it, and open it themselves within a matter of seconds. They did a test after Apollo 1's fire to work out how long it would take an astronaut to get out with the Apollo 1 hatch design. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was north of 30 seconds to actually get the hatch unlocked without an emergency going on. So that was one of the redesigns of Apollo as well. But the biggest difference between Apollo 1 and New Shepard was Apollo 1's atmosphere was 100% pure oxygen, which when on the launch pad was pressurized to 16 psi in order to make sure there was positive pressure inside the spacecraft, pushing any nitrogen out, because they didn't want nitrogen within the capsule. So they used high pressure pure oxygen, not really considering that pure oxygen at 16 psi makes stuff that's not normally flammable highly flammable, like Velcro, which they had all over the cabin. It became really combustible, and that was one of the big things that caused the flash fire in Apollo 1, which New Shepard doesn't have. New Shepard's atmosphere in the cabin, in the capsule, is just regular sort of 80-20 nitrogen oxygen that you breathe outside normally. And when it ascends, I think the pressure drops slightly, much like in a commercial aircraft. But they don't change it to like a pure oxygen mix or anything like that. So the materials inside are not going to be anywhere near as combustible. So the chances of a fire nowhere near as extreme. But to highlight this idea that people seem to have that an inward opening hatch is such a really bad idea, the ISS actually has inward opening hatches. If you look at the airlocks whenever they go and do space missions, their hatches of their airlocks open inwards, which they have to depressurize the airlock before they can open the hatch inwards, but it means that when it's not depressurized, the hatch is pushed shut. The Soyuz capsule, so I actually found, I was trying to find a video to show this, and I could only find an animation one that lays it out properly, but the Soyuz capsule is actually in two parts. It's got, just bring this up here for you. So this bit up the front here is what they use as a sort of crew quarters while they're in space, and this section here is the descent module that actually returns to Earth. So when they dock to the ISS, what shows it there, this probe on the front is what sort of latches onto the ISS. That hatch section there moves inwards. The crew have to remove it inwards into the capsule before they can get onto the ISS. After they're coming back to Earth, they detach this whole section, so only this front section here can come back in.
Hello, everybody.
But the hatch design,
well, and thanks for joining us for another live stream.
Through here, it does show it.
Hoping the sound is coming through okay.
There we are.
I do have a bit of a habit of
the hatch on the Soyuz opens inwards. Both hatches on the Soyuz open inwards,
and then we'll crack on.
So
you're meant to be in frame.
I think
dog.
I did find another. Oh, the SpaceX the Dragon capsule. Even though the main hatch that they can exit and enter out of on the ground opens outwards, the top hatch still opens inwards. And I think stop listening to my own. Is everyone getting... What have I got here? Oh, fuck. I haven't got that open. Where's that gone? Where's... I've not got... Oh, for fuck's sake. Apologies, everyone. For fuck's sake. Totally didn't realise that was just buried in a tab somewhere. I thought I'd shut them all down. Oh, so sorry. How long's that been going for? Has that been going the whole time, or just when I jumped onto screen share? Oh, thank God for that. I thought I'd just ruin the whole thing. I was just going to turn it all off and start again. Right. Apologies about that. So what I was saying, in amongst the me talking over me, the Soyuz hatch all open inwards. The Dragon capsule here, when they do the spacewalk, this top capsule opens inwards.
So again, one of the reasons we had Jared do that was to...
So there's plenty of space capsules spacecraft now that still have opening inward doors. And if you think about it, opening inwards is kind of a necessity, because if you've got two spacecraft that dock together and they both have outward opening doors, when they dock together, they can't get into each other's capsules because the doors would crash into each other. So, well, at least it's all fixed now, everybody. I'm still on a 100% record of ballsing up audio, so, you know, it's all good. So, yes, inward opening hatches is not a major problem. In fact, it makes construction easier because you don't have the locking mechanisms not fighting against the higher pressure inside, trying to push the door out into space. And it's like every commercial aircraft. If you look at a commercial aircraft, when they park up and they're opening the door actually pulls inward slightly before it swings out. Again, because the positive pressure then makes it impossible for anybody to just go and open the door in the middle of a flight. The other big point that I've seen, or another big point that I've seen, is the touchdown. And when you watch the touchdown, it looks brutal. I will agree, it looks brutal, as this is a different space flight, but yeah, you see this big cloud of dust coming up, and it looks like it's just whacked into the ground. So a load of people have taken this to think they're not trained astronauts inside, they're not pilots, they're not people who are used to really high forces. Some of them are elderly or older, I'll say, and they think that makes it sus that there's this huge plume of smoke as it's crashing down, but everyone inside's okay. Now, if you actually watch the stream, and like I said, this is not even NS-31. This is NS-22, which I think was, I can't remember if it was manned or not, but there's a point in here where they talk about the landing, and I'll just play it for you.
Touchdown, titanium kicks up the dust, but makes what the BE-3 engine and the New Shepard booster are capable of. Really just incredible engineering. So as we come in here softly for a landing, those landing systems will engage, measuring the height above the ground to fire that innovative retro thrust system that kicks up the dust but makes for a very soft landing.
So this is a feature of New Shepard that seemingly a lot of people don't actually realize, but, you know, rather than go and check it for themselves and sort of see it and think, why is that? They just see it and jump to a conclusion instead. So they did actually talk about this. The funny thing is, they talked about this same system on the NS-31 stream. I watched the NS-31 flight. I heard them talk about the retro system that would kick up the dust that they warned everyone about before it landed. So obviously the people who are then all claiming that it's fake haven't actually watched the flight, haven't seen it for themselves. They've just seen the cherry-picked bits that people are going for. But I did find before a great picture that that shows this. Here we go. Screen share. There we are. So this was a photo, a sequence of photos that I found that were taken during one of the landings, right? And you can see literally less than the height of the capsule that it is above the floor, and it fires these jets of air down to make a cushion of air. So the landing, the kick up of dust that you're seeing isn't the capsule itself smashing into the floor. It's this blast of air that is essentially making a cushion for the capsule to land on, but that is what pushes the dust out. So yeah, the kick up of dust isn't from the capsule. If you look at some of the other flights, and this is the daft thing, everyone's jumping on this flight like this is some massive conspiracy. These celebrities never went to space. This is not the first time that New Shepard's flown. There's a clue, NS-31. It's the 31st flight. Not all of them were manned, but I think we're into double digits of how many manned flights there have been of New Shepard capsules, and every single one comes down in exactly this manner, and suddenly now everyone's found a problem with it. So yeah, it's quite hilarious. And the other thing that this leads me to is people talking about the charring or lack thereof, that the capsule looks too pristine. Now, this is not a photo from NS-31. This is a photo from a earlier flight, and the capsule's pristine. It's not got charring on it because, as I explained in the video, when you get the charring that you get is from the buildup of heat around the capsule as it's slowing down within the atmosphere from 17,500 miles an hour, which is the sort of, well, orbital speed is about 17,500 miles an hour. You slow down slightly in order to get your orbit to drop into the atmosphere. But then you are pretty much a case of it's the atmosphere air braking you, taking off over 17,000 miles an hour of that before you can get to a slow enough speed to open up parachutes. And it's that of a very high-speed craft crashing into the atmosphere that actually, I'm going to try and get this right, because I used to say it was friction that causes the heat, but then people call me up on it. So as I understand it, it's as the craft smashes into the air, it's compressing the air. That sudden compression of the air causes the air to get very hot, which causes, I think it's ionized gas. It basically ionizes the air, and that's what causes the streak of light. But it also causes a huge amount of heat that transfers to the craft, and it creates this charred look on a white craft. Space Dragon capsules look like it. The Apollo capsules often look like it. But yeah, people suddenly now have got a problem with New Shepard. But none of the New Shepard flights come down with charring on it. And yet, I had somebody before highlight the point that I suspected where people were getting confused. Because I've had people turn around to me and say, in the comments, I get so many people in the comments going, it looks too clean, it's too clean, there's no charring. I've seen charring on Blue Origin, on New Shepards before. And I'm like, I've not found any with charring on. That seems weird. And then somebody actually commented just before on it and basically confirmed my suspicions. Where they said, commented on the video that I put up and said, at the 5:30 mark, you can see a prior capsule and the beating the paint took after landing. Part of the capsule's paint was completely lost during re-entry. However, the Bimbo capsule is clean as a whistle, no paint loss, no heat, no damage, not even residual dust after the touchdown. Now, the shot at 5 minutes 30 is of, this isn't the screenshot from my video, but it's the same capsule. This, right? And they're saying that there's all this charring on the capsule that's not on the one from NS-31. Which is just people, jumping to ridiculous conclusions and not bothering to do the one simple thing that would have clarified this for them, which is go and look at that capsule before it got launched. Because I've been digging into this. Yeah, Iwan's got it. There's two manned capsules that they fly for New Shepard now. The first one they had was one called RSS First Step. That is the capsule that they have used for every single manned flight until NS-31. NS-31 flew a new capsule called RSS Carmen Line. Now, RSS Carmen Line has flown once before, but it was an unmanned flight, NS-27. And if you go and watch NS-27's stream, in fact, I think I had it somewhere. Where did I put it? Yes, here it is. Bring this up. This is NS-27 with the same capsule that was used on NS-31, and there's no charring on that either. And the reason is, as somebody pointed out, is because this is actually design work that is on the First Step capsule. Here is RSS Carmen Line as it's being launched, right? And you can see it's all completely clear around the hatch. Here is RSS First Step as it's launched, and it's got the same markings all over the capsule, because the markings that they're seeing are not char marks from it re-entering the atmosphere. It's a great big feather design that they've got that goes up the side of the blue. It's a feather design that goes right the way up the side of the booster, and the top of the feather is on the capsule. Here, that everyone's just automatically assumed is charring, rather than look and see how did the capsule look before it came back into the atmosphere. So yes, it turns out everyone who thinks that there's charring going on New Shepard are confusing a giant grey painted feather on the capsule. No point pointing to full Rusty. He's disappeared. That's what I wanted to do. I'll bring it back up if there's something more exciting than an empty chair. I'll bring it back. So yes, that was my personal favourite one of all the Blue Origin ones, is the fact that everyone's convinced that there should be charring marks because there's a feather painted on a different capsule that's flown on other missions. This is seemingly what research can do for you. It's great, isn't it? And I'm trying to think if there was any others. I know there was a couple of people have seen a couple of tweets. People were putting up a picture of a dummy hand that Jaren actually showed me the answer for on his stream last night. I hadn't looked into the dummy hand one, to be honest. But it turns out that this picture that they're showing is a cropped version of a photo from several years ago at least, where they actually flew a test flight with dummies on board. And so they took a picture of the dummies after the capsule had landed. People, conspiracy theorists, have taken that picture, cropped it down so that you can't see the landscape is completely different. They're just showing a dummy hand and going, there's dummies, they're dummies. Which is, absolutely, totally, 100% the honesty you've come to expect from conspiracy theorists. But I did find, although I think I've now inadvertently closed the tab in amongst my balls up before, when you actually look through the NS-31 flight. Bring this up now and see if I can find it, because I watched through this. Make this slightly bigger, it's off-centered, but just after they touched down, right? So they've just touched down. They were landing in the desert, which is why there's all that dust kicked up, right? And bearing in mind, they've got everyone watching there as well. But they've got helicopters that are flying around, and I think they've got a drone, or at least they had a drone around the landing site for the booster. But if you watch, bearing in mind, you know, parachutes are still coming down, capsule dust, still everything there. You get a close-up shot in a second. You can see them waving in the window. Where was it? I know I've found it before. They get here it is, I think. You get a nice close-in view. And bearing in mind, they've only just landed. They're still all sort of strapped in at the moment. I think this window starts waving first. Yeah, there's hand movements. There's waving in the window. Those are some damn good mannequins if they think that you know, if they're able to do that. So yeah, it's, you know, was it a I say necessary flight? Well, I mean, it was a space flight. It made it past the Kármán line. Loads of people have said, you know, it is essentially just a glorified carnival ride in the sense that it just fires you straight up in the air for a few dozen miles and then you come straight back down again. Would I pay to go on it? No. But I don't begrudge you. People are going to pay to go on them. It's no different than planes. Is the daft thing. It's, you know, yes, it's glorified. Yes, it's a fancy trip, but planes were the same. When planes were first introduced, it was literally professional pilots were the only people that could actually use them. No different than spacecraft now, or, you know, spacecraft for the past several decades. Then they started to introduce the capacity of carrying passengers, but it was really expensive because it was brand new technology that most people, it was out of the price range of most people. Only the super rich could afford to do it. But the more that people then do it, the cheaper the process becomes, the cheaper the flights become, the more people can do it. And you end up with this circle and this spiral that over years leads to where we are now, where, you know, you could buy flights for, well, less than an expensive restaurant meal. You could wind up flying to a completely different country. And space flight's going to do the same thing. So, you know, I think even though it's, some could argue it a vanity project, I've seen some people suggesting that, because loads of people pointed out and said that Katy Perry wasn't really sort of taking in the earth or whatever. She was just shooting selfies. And I've seen some suggestion that she was possibly shooting a music video while she was up there. I mean, you know, if that's what you want to do with your 4 minutes in space, then so be it. But each to their own. But all of it draws more attention to the prospect of spaceflight. It can potentially get new people interested in spaceflight because, yeah, they're big name celebrities, or, you know, well, I say big name celebrities. I've only heard of 2 of them, I think, but they're well known. They're certainly more well known than most people that will fly on New Shepard flights. So I think it still serves a purpose in terms of building the sort of public interest within spaceflight. Which the daft thing is the same people who are arguing that this is fake because it's a vanity project and it's celebrities, and the kind of a lot of them are probably the same people who moan that we've not been back to the moon. And yet a big chunk of the reason why there's not gone back to the moon is the sort of, what's the point? What's the benefit? and if there's not an interest within it from the public, there's less of a pressure on the government to invest bigger amounts of money into making a trip to the moon worthwhile. So it's yeah, I still think, you know, and as far as I know, I think they all paid their own way, apart from I don't know, Jeff Bezos's fiance was one of them, so you know she probably got the trip for free since how it's his bleeding rocket. But I think the rest of them all paid their own way. So you know it's still, it's not like it's you know just firing rockets for nothing. It's kind of similar. Try and be careful how I judge this, to the Titan sub, in the sense that that was you know, a really expensive trip that a lot of people who went on the previous dives of that, I don't think they I remember seeing a lot of content creators talking about it after the accident and saying how they'd been on it, or they'd been offered free trips on it, basically to try and drum up publicity for it. And I don't know if that's what happens with the New Shepard flights, whether that, or if that happens a lot with New Shepard, but yes, Gene, back to the moon, because, you know, yes, we've been there. There's all the evidence, which actually, I think that wraps it up quite nicely anyway, because that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about with Blue Origin, was just kind of highlighting those points. Unless people have seen other points regarding the flight that I've missed off, but I don't recall there being any more. But with regards to the moon, Jaren and I are going to be doing a stream together at some point very soon to go over the moon landings, because even though he's finally seen the light and realized the Earth's not flat, he's still got that sort of conspiratorial mindset that makes him question seemingly everything, probably everything government related. But yes, Keon, very good. Yes, good point. They also gain launch experience for New Glenn there and their other rockets, and you know, and in some respects, it's yeah, so that will help drive them. And if they're driving New Glenn forward, that's going to put more pressure on SpaceX, and you've got other companies who are coming in as well. So yeah, the whole thing just sort of, it's that competition cycle, which again has happened in years gone by. Most pieces of technology that you possess these days all started off as, you know, like, how many people don't have a phone these days? In sort of, well, pretty much everyone watching this stream has probably got a phone, and yet years ago no one had them, and you had to get that sort of that cycle of people getting them in order to drive down the price and so on and so forth. So yes, anyway, moon landings. Jaren and I will be doing a show together. He's already given me some points that he would like to go over, that he thinks points it to it not being real and them faking it. And I'm quietly confident, if he can keep the same level of honesty and open-mindedness that he had on the Antarctica trip, I'm pretty sure he'll come to realize that the moon landings actually happened. Because I actually think a lot of the points that he's given me, or at least a few of the points that he's given me that he thinks shows they didn't land on the moon, actually point very heavily to they had to have been on the moon. But yeah, I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I thought I'd update everyone, because Jaren did a stream last night, and he kind of descended. He was covering the Blue Origin stuff, and then he started talking about the moon landings, and then it sort of descended into him going on them for several hours, and yeah, kind of drifted definitely back into that conspiracy mindset of presuming a lot of things and not delving into doing the research. But that was kind of why I'd said to him after on the Antarctica trip, I knew he'd done the same thing with flat Earth for years, and so many times people were giving him these explanations and things that didn't work on a flat Earth that did work on a globe, that he just didn't fully sink in and process. He would dismiss them. He would find some way of saying, kind of finding how he could reconcile with a flat Earth. Until we were in Antarctica, or Punta Arenas just beforehand as well, and he and I were having these discussions, and I was shifting things rather than just telling him stuff. I was trying to put it into context that he could better grasp, and sort of bringing up analogies that he could relate to, and I think that helped sort of help things for him. So I'm hoping the moon landing stuff will go the same way. That was why I'd suggested to him, after I'd seen how he responded to those conversations, that I could tell he wasn't just instantly trying to dismiss what I was presenting to him. He was actually trying to sort of, you could see him in the conversations actually try and understand it and realize the points that I was getting to, and okay, yeah, I can see that now. How does this work? How does that work? And then obviously the seeing the 24-hour sun just sort of was the straw that broke the camel's back, and everything clicked into place. So I'm hoping that the talks with him about the moon landings, not only can I give him reasonable explanations for all of the points, but I can give him the evidence to show that they had to have been on the moon. And I think he's going to do it. He kind of did it last night. He started talking about Armstrong. He brought up one of his old videos with Armstrong, saying in one video clip that it was a small 6-inch step off the lunar module, and yet in the footage on the moon, he was talking about a 3-foot jump. And in Jaren's mind, he was going a 3-foot jump and a 6-inch step. They don't, it's Armstrong getting confused because you can't keep track of the truth. And I did comment to him and try and explain it to him in a comment, but he was sort of struggling at first to understand it. It took a few comments to get the explanation across to him. Plus, I had to message him a photo on, send him a message on Telegram with the photo on. But I think by the end of it, he sort of grasped what I was getting at, which is they come down the ladder, and there's a very big gap from the bottom rung of the ladder to the foot of the lunar module. Because actually these legs were supposed to compress slightly on landing, but they didn't land hard enough to compress them properly. But yeah, there was quite a big there was quite a big gap from the bottom step to the foot pad of the lunar module. So you can actually see in the video, Armstrong hops off the ladder into the foot of the lunar module, then jumps back up onto the ladder before jumping back down again, to basically check how easy it is to get back onto the ladder before Buzz comes down, because what they didn't want to do is get both of them out of the lunar module onto the surface and then find that they couldn't get back up the ladder. So the 3 foot was actually the jump down from the bottom of the ladder into the foot of the lunar module, and then he says, I'm going to step off the limb now, and steps that small step out of the foot of the lunar module onto the surface of the moon, and that was obviously the one small step he was referring to. But Jaren actually started to grasp it, I think. I didn't see all of the stream. I'd ended up going to bed by that point, but I watched back after that this morning. And he actually ended up later on. He didn't bring the photo up, but I know he was talking through it aloud and looked at the picture on the phone and kind of, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how that goes now. So he's definitely seems to be still within the mindset of taking on board the information. I think at the moment he just needs to be given the information. I think his mind is still just full of the conspiracy arguments that he's not in a position to go and look for all of the answers himself. He's just going to wind up sort of going down the cognitive dissonance side of things and finding what he thinks fits his arguments rather than looking for stuff that goes against it. Which, annoyingly, he did last night. He keeps bringing up about the lunar rover footage and why is there no lunar rover footage. He was this close to reading the answer. I know the answer. I'm not going to ruin everyone's day, but there is an explanation why. And he was this close to finding it. He started reading a post and then he stopped before he got to the explanation. He didn't fully reconcile it. He just sort of went, blah, 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 and jumped ahead to something. Because he was looking for, in his mind, something specific rather than, rather than reading the whole thing. He was just going, yeah, this isn't saying what I'm looking for, so on to the next thing. So yeah, that is going to be coming up soon. I don't know exactly when. I was waiting for him to say a few things. He said he was going to send me a list of stuff. He sent me a few things. I thought he was going to send me some more, but I think we're probably just going to run ahead with what I've got now. So I just need to organise a day with him. There was some talk about possibly trying to do it this week, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm going to just read through the super chats that have come through, and then I'm going to sign off because I don't want to do another 6-hour live stream. I do have a habit of sometimes just getting a bit carried away. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the super chats. Who knows? Rusty might make an appearance. I said Rusty might make an appearance. Dead to the world. Could you do me a favor and just come up here? Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Nope. People do not want to see your arse. Go on your bed. Lie down. Anyway, okay. He's probably going to hop down. Oh no, there we go. Right, so Golden Skeptic, £2. Why bother with conspiracy idiots? Because I firmly believe. I mean, some of them are idiots. Some of them are just intentionally lying. You get plenty of examples, like I say, of the mannequin on New Shepard or whatever. You can tell where they've been intentionally deceptive. In fact, speaking of which, I noticed the legend of Rachie50 herself was in chat before. I don't know if she's still watching. She did a video today or yesterday about tackling one of the arguments, in fact, that's been made about New Shepard apparently not being real. Was they saw the moon and they brought on this conspiracy. I think it was probably it was a flat earther. Brought up a map from time and date and said the moon should be over the Indian Ocean somewhere, with like pretty much antipodal to where the flight was. So how could they have seen it? It wasn't quite antipodal, but it was a way round the globe. And Rachie picked up on and pointed out the fact that the time and date map that they were using was from an hour later than the launch actually took place. So when you look at where the moon was actually at the time, it was about over Hawaii. perfectly understandable. And in fact, proves the globe, because the moon had set about an hour before the launch, and then they get shot up 60 miles into the air, and lo and behold, there's the moon. Kind of globe. So I think there's people like that who are just intentionally being deceptive and looking for their arguments, but there are plenty of people who are just, they get inadvertently sucked into a conspiracy. They don't mean to, but I think once you fall into that rabbit hole, it is difficult to get yourself out until somebody can just give you some information, something that just makes the pieces fit together, makes you realize where you were wrong. And I do get plenty of people commenting and going, your videos have helped me realize this, your videos have helped me realize that I was wrong about that. So not all of them are idiots, far from it. There's lots who are just misguided, who have inadvertently fallen into the traps, because I can see how you see some of the memes and the stuff that gets claimed. Some of it you just think, how can anyone believe that? But there's other ones that are done in such a way that there is a hint of truth within them, surrounded by an awful lot of BS. But it's done in such a subtle way that it's not immediately apparent. And it's only, you either take it at face value and then you're sort of going down that conspiracy line, or you have to delve into research to actually disprove it. And most people just read stuff online and take it at face value without thinking, how could that actually be the case? And let's just test this for themselves. Like with this feather on New Shepard, I'll be amazed. I think a lot of people have just seen streaked markings up the side of it, up the side of a capsule, or someone pointed out to them the streaked markings up the side of a capsule, and all of them have just seen it and gone, oh yeah, they are on that one and they're not on that one. But none of them have thought to think, could it be two different capsules? Could it be two different craft I'm talking about here? Let's go and look for the capsule before they launched and see, do they look the same? They just go, oh yeah, they've got a point, I'll believe that. Don Pusatira, I do apologize if I've messed that up, for $5. Who did the music for your intro? It reminds me of Outer Wilds. Also, thanks for everything. Don't sweat the small audio issues. Oh, I think everyone's getting used to the small audio issues now. One day I'm going to do a stream that I'm not going to balls it up, and everyone's going to be really confused. With regards to the audio intro, where was it? It's from I can't remember. It's a track I found online that I wound up buying. I think I got it off Ben Sound. That it just, I knew I wanted the audio. I knew I wanted the video to be of Rusty, and it wanted to sort of be building up the excitement. So starting off with him asleep and then gradually building up and up and up. So yeah, that was just a piece that I found on Ben Sound that fitted it perfectly, but I can't remember what it was called, unfortunately. And then Jay for 5 Australian says, the Flurfs need to attack it hard. With it now being accessible to hit orbit, it's going to destroy their beliefs. Great to see you back. Thank you, Jay. Yes. So obviously they need to flat earthers need to attack anything that goes against their beliefs. Which is why I think they went after, like I've said in the last stream that I did. Was it the last stream I did? The one about Flatzoid and his just inhumane attack on Lisbeth for no reason at all. Like I said, other than the fact that she was in Antarctica and she said she saw the 24-hour sun, even though at that point she was doing live stream shows with Mark Sargent and still talking about the Earth being flat. There was no reason to drag her through any of it other than discredit her, then you can justify not paying any attention to her when she says, "Don't be a moron. The sun definitely did circle us in Antarctica." She didn't actually say that. We all just thought it. And then, yeah, with regards to being back, yeah, I took a little bit of a break because I think I'm trying to find a balance of doing live streams and still doing videos, and I kind of, because I'd only just started doing live streams, I kind of got into a bit of habit of doing live streams and not so much focus on the videos. And there was a lot of stuff going on at home as well. So, yeah, I think I just got imbalanced there, and a lot of people were commenting, and I think it gave the impression that I was just dropping the videos to only do live streams, which was never the intention. But obviously, if I was only doing live streams and people weren't watching the live streams, they wouldn't get that message. So I thought I'll try and find a bit more of a balance. And like I said, this was a bit of a last minute impromptu one because I kept seeing these comments about New Shepard, and I may do a video putting them together because I'm getting so many comments about it, but I just wanted to sort of do a quick stream tonight to put the points out there, basically, so that if, for now, for anyone who is watching who's been thinking, what are all these points they're talking about, then yeah, you've at least got some of the answers now anyway. Delta and Destiny for $5. Love your content. Keep showing the flirts how stupid they are. I can't believe some people actually believe this stuff. Well, like I said, some of it is put in a way that could be quite compelling. And in it's no different than in reality a lot of media. I've noticed that is the number of times I remember you'd see a news article headline and they twist the story in a way to try and poke you in a particular direction. And you could have two different news outlets talking about the same article, would put different spins on it to try and twist your perception of it. So I think it's not just flat earthers or conspiracy theorists in general. We're all guilty sometimes of just hearing things and taking things at face value rather than sort of delving into it deeper and questioning things. But, you know, that is a bit of an extreme example, though, you know, between sort of slightly biased news outlets, headlines for clickbait versus, you know, thinking the Earth's flat, but each to their own. Addicted to Gaming. I'm assuming it's Addicted to Gaming. I can't actually see the full name. For $10. Hey, Dave, I heard some environmentalists complaining about the hypocrisy of these celebs for taking this flight. Any idea on the actual carbon emissions of the flights? Not off the top of my head. I don't know what fuel they use. Let me just have a look. I'm sure by the time I've read this, somebody's gonna be probably have the answer for me already. What's that B3 engine? Oh no, it is a liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. Yeah, don't know. Basically, I'd have to look into it. Yeah, you know, I think there is some level of potentially hypocrisy, but then. Yeah. I mean, there's still obviously. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. Oh yeah, Dougal, good point. According to Dave Weiss, it flies on helium because he thinks it's a balloon. Val for £5. After last night, I have to ask: are you planning a friendly debate with Jaren on the Apollo missions? I know it will be fun for us viewers. Yeah, I've nothing against Jaren at all. In fact, prior to December, I was convinced he was a grifter. I'd even said it in a video. I think I even did a video about it where I said Flat Earth approves the globe again. And I did kind of say, I'm pretty sure I counted it as 3 separate occasions that he'd basically proven the globe, and still arguing the Earth is flat, and I thought there's no way you can prove the globe that many times and not realize it. So I was convinced it must have been he was just doing it for the money. But then having met him, having gone through, like I said, having had the conversations with him, it was very, very different having conversations with Jaren versus having conversations with Austin. Even though they were obviously they'd gone on the trip, so they were both big name flat earthers, and basically Jaren was the reason that Austin went on the trip in the first place. They were completely different to have conversations with. Austin, the moment he realized where you were trying to drive a point home to, and he knew he wouldn't have an answer for it, he immediately wanted off the topic. He was immediately trying to drive away onto something else. Jaren, by comparison, you could see him trying to process and understand the point. We got onto celestial poles. The fact that there's a south celestial pole that can't exist on a flat Earth. Austin's trying to claim you can, because you could apparently just go and stand on the opposite side of the dome. Because he's going, oh, if you draw a circle on a window, it's going this way, and then you go around the other side of the window, and it seems like it's going the other way. And Jaren's, yeah, that's right. I said, yeah, but you can't get to the other side of the sky. Go and buy a star projector, put it in your room, and have it sending lights around your room. You can go and stand anywhere you want within the room. You can look in any direction you want. They will always go in the same way. Austin immediately changed the topic. Nope, you're wrong. Let's talk about something else. Jaren went quiet, and you could see him kind of trying to imagine stars going around, like a star projector going around the room. So, I do think he's open and honest enough. I think he just needs the right information being given to him for him to realize. Which, like I said, I think I've got, but we'll see. Turtle moves for £2. Jaren needs that ranty moment. The sun in Antarctica was the ranty moment for him for flat Earth, but I think, I think I can get it with the moon as well, but time will tell. Val again for £2. Are you joining Max in his birthday stream? Max? What's his channel? Matters Now. I didn't even know it was on. Oh shit, that was a point. I actually suddenly just remembered. Yeah, is it Matters Now you're referring to? Because Max, I forgot it was his birthday. Damn it. DPD Bunks messaged me on Discord and asked if I'd do a little video message for him, and I thought, yeah, I'll do one, but I was going to do one of Rusty, and then I completely forgot. So I'm not going to be able to go on when is his birthday stream? Is it today? I'm not going to be able to go on today if it is. So if anyone is free to, is he birthday stream? Oh, he's on now, is he? Ah, damn it. Yeah, I'm going to be just wrapping this up and then getting to bed, because it's Easter tomorrow. Kids are going to be hyped up on chocolate, and I'm behind on sleep, so unfortunately I can't. But yes, Max, if you're watching, I do apologise for not getting a birthday message to you. Happy birthday, mate. The Mystery Man has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. So 5 people are now a fan of you, whether they like it or not. And then Addicted to, I'm assuming it's Addicted to Gaming again for $5. Are you glad that Scoundrel gifted you a membership to Jaren's channel? I was quite surprised when I got that. Yeah, it was quite fun. I'm happier that I got gifted his membership to his channel now that he's realised the Earth's not flat. That would have been awkward. And then I see Spin, who's been a member for a month. Did you hear Lisbeth is no longer a flirf? Don't know if she said a whole lot, but DPD Bunks mentioned it last night. Yes, well, I think it was sort of the reactions post Antarctica and the backlash and people turning against her that I think she said that she's not a flat earther anymore, but also not a globe earther. I think she's basically just washing her hands of the arguments because it's driving her nuts, which I don't blame her. It was bad enough seeing the backlash she was getting while we were actually in Antarctica. I remember at one point I sat down with it. We're in the food tent. They call it the Fran, and it. I think she'd. Yeah, we were at halfway point, and I think I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Everything happened, so I didn't sleep for most of it, so I was a bit confused. There was one point where she wanted to go back to camp and basically just sort of have a bit of a sort of break from it. And I think it might have been while we were still at halfway point. I remember at some point that she was just getting loads of backlash from Clubhouse and Discord or whatever other platforms. Basically, all these flat earthers, after she'd been on a stream and said, it's midnight in Antarctica, the sun's south, that's as low as it's going. It's coming. It's not going any lower. It's not going to set. We were wrong. And then, yeah, seemingly everyone just turned on her, and I think that hit her. She wasn't expecting the backlash that she got. And I think that kind of made her realize, over time at least, that the continued backlash has kind of made her realize that a lot of the truth seekers aren't truth seekers at all, because key fundamental of being a truth seeker is if you're seeking the truth, you have to be prepared to admit that you might be wrong, which no truth seeker who thinks the earth is flat seemingly does that. Because if you do, you're no longer a flat earther, you're a globe earther. And then Don Pusuteri. Okay, thank you for... I probably just balls that one up as well now. For $5, I get there's some prep for Jaren's debate, but I think it would be great to see how you do research and debunk in real time. I did actually contemplate potentially trying to do a stream like that of just sort of a bit of a behind the scenes one of me as I'm trying to put together research for something, but it won't be for the moon landings. The moon landing one, and I think I did see somebody ask me something similar in the chat. Oh yeah, Dougal asked, will the moon landing discussions with Jaren be live or pre-recorded? I think they're going to be live, is the plan, which is why I said to him, send me a list first. I didn't want to dive into it in a sort of a debate where he brings his arguments and I bring my arguments, and then the first we know about each other's arguments is bang, we're in we're sort of opening statements of some heated debate, and then we're scrambling to try and throw stuff back at each other. I'd said to him from the outset, sorry Don, I'm shit with surnames. Yes, I'd sort of said to him at the time after the conversations in Antarctica. Oh, hang on one second. Joseph369, are you prepared to admit it's measured flat? If it were measured flat, I would admit it, but unfortunately Nathan Oakley doesn't understand a damn thing about geometry. But I am going to do a video, because that is, funny thing is, that is all Nathan Oakley's got anymore. Honestly, there's a fun little game I play sometimes, because I have a basic rule. Nathan Oakley's done what, over 2,000 flat Earth debates that have never involved any debates whatsoever. Hang on, Surfer Greek. Hang on. Blocking. No, I'm not going to block Joe just for believing Nathan Oakley's BS. But Mr. Wayne, planar surveying doesn't count as measured flat. No. But geodetic does. And there's a reason total stations automatically account for Earth curvature and refraction. And if the Earth wasn't curved, then the measurements would be wrong. Yes, with regards to measured flat, all Nathan Oakley does now, he doesn't answer a question. I sometimes just sort of jump into his streams and basically you play like Russian roulette with Oakley of go into any one of his streams and just pick a random timestamp and see if you can go more than 30 seconds of him talking without him just asserting it's measured flat, that's a flat Earth measurement, you're just crowbarring flat Earth measurements into a globe. He doesn't answer any of it. Somebody asked him the other day, right? You can go to Dubai, where the Burj Khalifa is. They said, if you go and stand outside the front door of the Burj Khalifa, you can wait, you can watch the sunset. You can go inside, jump in a lift, go up whatever it is, 800 feet or something like that, and you can see the sunset again. And asked Nathan, could you explain that on a flat Earth? Could you explain how that what is causing that? What is the mechanism of you see the sunset at one height, you go up in elevation, you see a new one? All Nathan Oakley said was, actually got him to repeat, sorry, what height did you say the Burj Khalifa was? Got him to say it, and then said, that's a flat Earth measurement. That was it. Elevation's a flat Earth measurement, therefore he doesn't need to address the argument because it's a flat Earth measurement. I could tell you right now, Nathan's whole argument is it must be a flat Earth measurement because you can't get an elevation above a curved surface. Except, well, I can take a tape measure and I can put a tape measure against the curved surface and tell you how high something is off it. In the same way, he says you can't get angle measurements off a curved surface. God forbid if Nathan Oakley ever understands that there's snooker and pool and curling and all these other sports that rely on spherical objects hitting other spherical objects and being able to know what angle the thing is going to travel off at after they've hit each other. But anyway, fun and games. And then finally, Lawrence Dubious, $5 Canadian, but seemingly no message. So, oh no, there it is, Lawrence. In the past 50 years, you've accomplished nothing in terms of space. Okay. Well, yeah, I've not accomplished anything in space because I've never been there. But I would say there's plenty that's been accomplished in space. In terms of just going to places, though, is a little bit different. That's like saying that just because you've gone no further than the moon doesn't mean that you've not accomplished anything. That's like when explorers first sort of found the whole of Europe and then didn't go any further for a few hundred years or however long it was. They still accomplished stuff while they were in the territories that they just discovered. There's plenty of stuff that's been worked on in sort of the space station and yeah. So and new technologies that are being developed because of it, and it's going slower, I'll grant you that, but then to be fair, when Apollo was a sort of special case because they were doing it sort of in amongst the tensions of the Soviets, and they threw so much money into it. I mean, they were putting more money into Apollo than any other government department. I'm pretty sure during the mid-60s, they were putting more money into Apollo than they were putting into the military, which, you know, they're not going to do again. Yeah. Anyway, right. That is all super chats. And other than Mr. Wayne being Mr. Wayne, there's nothing which I'm not getting delved into because which I'm not getting dragged into because I just can't be arsed. And Rusty's tired. Rusty's always bloody tired. But yes. So I'm going to bid you all a good night. Like I say, I'm working on another video at the moment, which will be on eclipses and how those don't work on a flat Earth either. And then I may well do a SH flip the suit logo. Oh, yeah, that was another good one. Yeah, the Blue Origin logo, because if you flip it upside down, it apparently makes a devil. The fact that the right way up, it's the New Shepard rocket. Let's ignore that. Yeah. Anyway, yes. So, video about eclipses, which I'm working on, and I may well do a video sort of just condensing these points about New Shepard. And then I'm going to sign off now and leave it for Mr. Wayne to try and try and come up with, can he explain the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, or can he explain the 24 hours of solar photography that I did in Antarctica, and the sunspot changing orientation and the sun not changing size between Antarctica, Punta Arenas and UK. We all know he won't. So, yeah. And with that, everyone, thank you everyone who's stopped by and watched, even Mr. Wayne, and we will see you in the next stream.
Rusty sits atop his big red chair, casting out looks without a care. With his sidekick Dave close at hand, teaching us about the globe. Sunspots or the new space probe, the daring duo will make their stand. Rusty lies in his big red chair, belly rubs legs up in the air. It's a clever ruse to be sure. He may look sleepy, don't be deceived. Don't let your thoughts be preconceived. He can spring to life in a big red blur. Rusty has a nose for facts, a science-based directive. Battling conspiracy theories, a true canine detective. He can't be denied. So many have tried, so many have failed and ended up dejected, just like the fish John West rejected. So many of them to be corrected. Rusty sleeps in his big red chair, those floppy ears still hear, I swear.